Happy Friday. Excusez-moi. I look like crap. It's only because I had my hood up and taking my doggy outside in this freezing cold weather. And I hope you love my background. It's not my pretty decorations like usual, but I'm in my garage right now because I'm finishing up some things in here. But so I apologize for not being on much lately because I've got a lot going on. But holidays are overwhelming for most of us. So what the lowdown is, and if you hear me griping at my dog, it's because the little son of a gun is getting into everything in here, thinking it's his. If I have a bag in here, shopping bag, he'll go through the root and through the shopping bag to see what's in it. He's just a dipshit. Anyways, happy Friday. My thing is that I've told you guys sometimes when I have things going on in my life that are hectic or overwhelming or stressful or I'm sick, or there's a lot of negativity around me, whether it's people I'm friends with or family or whatever. Sometimes my guides, my ancestors, my loved ones, angels on the other side take a back seat. And they take a back seat because they need to give me time to grow and heal or get better or push that negative stuff out of my life. Or sometimes it's because they're worried about my health and I need to take better care of myself, which has been the case the last few months. So I just wanted to jump on here because I'm going with a couple of my friends tomorrow, Saturday, to do a spirit investigation at a place we've never been. It's in a very small town. It used to be a hotel, from my understanding. I don't know much about the place. I'm not going to read too much into the place. I did see one video, and all it showed in the video of this place was it showed a door opening and closing like 2 or 3 times. It was on just a clip or a TikTok or something. I don't feel like there's any negative energy down there, thank God, because I don't like that kind of stuff. But so I usually before an investigation, usually within 3 weeks of that investigation going to take place, my energy level goes really high. I start picking up things from the area that we're going to go to. In this case, it's happening again. About a week or so ago, my energy started going through the roof. I started picking up people's emotions at the bar. I can tell what's going on with people. Hang on, I gotta push pause. My dog's acting crazy. So my energy starts getting high because of the spirit investigation. But not only with that comes other things like people's emotions. Like I can sit in the bar and if someone walks in, I might get vibes up my legs pertaining to their life. This happened the other day while we were decorating. We were taking a break. I sat down. We were talking. Everything was fine. Somebody comes walking in the back door and instantly I got chills and vibes up my leg. It's like electricity. It's hard to explain. Up my legs into my hips. So when that happened, I looked to the person beside me. I'm like, there's either a spirit in here or something's going on because I'm feeling the energy from that. The only thing I could think of was that person that walked in the door. I felt like it was pertaining to them and pertaining to, and I heard grandma. So I didn't say anything. I did to the person I think sitting beside me. I said, I feel like it's this person and it's their grandma. Something's going on with their grandma. And I left it at that. But the chills were really, really strong. So as I got up to start decorating again, one of the bartenders said something to me about the person that walked in having some medical issues or health issues or something and this and that. And then she stopped at that. The very next day, I go in and the person says something had happened to their grandma and they had fallen and this and that. So I'm picking up their energy. I was picking up that person's grandma's energy and seeing like a decline, so to speak. Not that I'm saying this person's going to pass away. I'm not saying that. I'm saying that I could feel the energy from the person walking in. I could tell something had happened to grandma and it kind of had this person a little overwhelmed. So I could feel that. So not only have I been able to feel the energy of people, whether it's frustration, stress, upset, broken heart, feeling of new love, I feel those emotions because I am empathic. stop the doggy. Anyways, so I feel the emotions, even in my own household. A couple weeks ago, someone was at my house, and I felt what I call fart in a whirlwind. And this is hard to explain because when this person walked in my home, I seen like a cyclone or like a tornado. So like I'm looking over the top of a tornado, and what I would think it looked like from the inside, it was like a whirl, whirl, whirl. It was like almost going into a black hole. It was so crazy. And I seen that, and I felt frustration. So I call it a fart in a whirlwind because it felt like this person's thoughts were everywhere. That they were nervous about something, that they couldn't keep their brain focused on one thing or another because there was so much going on in their life or going on with a situation in their life that it felt like a fart in a whirlwind. Like they were just going around, 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 around. The thoughts were going around, around, around. And it happened 2 weeks ago from yesterday is when I started feeling this. So then I think it was yesterday, this person at my house again, I started feeling anxious. I kept hearing antsy, 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 antsy in my head while I was cooking. And I kept feeling that antsy, like I didn't want to sit down. I was standing up cooking, but the thought was in my head, I don't want to sit down. I don't want to sit down. I got to keep moving around. I got to get my mind off this, blah, blah, blah. I'm feeling antsy, antsy, antsy. So later on, after dinner and this and that, me and this person talked. And I was telling them how the last couple weeks I've felt a lot of people's emotions. And I know my energy level is very, very high right now because I'm also feeling these people's emotions, like what's going on in their head. I'm feeling like what they're going through, whether it's good or bad or the ugly or whatever. I'm feeling these things. And I can almost tell you what every person is thinking in the bar. That's kind of how my energy is. I know it's freaking nuts. And believe me, I'm not seeing things like you're doing the dirty deed with your husband or your wife. I'm not seeing that. It's like things that are going on in your mind. I'm feeling them. I'm seeing visions of this, and it's described like symbolically to me. So last night after dinner, I was explaining this to this person, how my energy level is so high because of this investigation as of Saturday. Hang on. All right, I'm back. Had to take my dog out. Anyways, so I was explaining this to that person, like how my energy has been because of this investigation on Saturday. And like I've channeled the people I'm going to run into at this home or this hotel or whatever we're going to on Saturday. So this person asked me, well, then what's been going on in my life? I thought in my head, you're too easy. You're way too easy. 2 weeks ago to this day, because it was last night, to this day, I felt this. I didn't understand what was going on to the full extent. I knew this was happening. I called you a fart in a whirlwind. I seen the cyclonic thing, like my thoughts were racing constantly. I couldn't stop thinking about something. So I was slipping up with other things because I couldn't think straight because my mind was so busy with nervousness, tension, stress, things like that. And then as of yesterday, I told him, well, when you came in today and you were in my living room or whatever, I felt antsy, 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 antsy. I can't sit down. I got too much going on. I'm nervous. I'm like antsy. You know, I don't want to sit down because then I think more. So I told them this, and they're like, that's crazy. Because 2 weeks ago to this day, I was counting down days to something. And it was like a doctor's thing. And something new. And so they were like, exactly 2 weeks ago today, I was counting down the days to this appointment because things in my life were going to change due to health reasons, right? Not mine, but this person's. And then they told me today when they came in the house and they had some things to do that they didn't want to sit down in my house because they were antsy and anxious and nervous because of this new medical treatment they're doing, right? So I picked up on that, like no problem. I don't think this person realizes how easy they are to read or how easy it is for me to pick up their emotions. And they were shocked, even though they know what I've done and what I've said, and I've done readings for them, you know? So with my energy being high like this, usually within 3 weeks to 2 weeks prior to me going to whatever location we're going to for the spirit investigation, I will start channeling things from that location. So I will start seeing like old movie clips playing in my head of things that might have taken place there. I will see people or hear names, or I will see certain things that probably were in this place but might not be there now. Talking about like decorations or a window, or that might have gotten replaced at one point in time, but it was a real fancy window maybe back in the day. So according to what I do know is when I ordered my tickets for this event, this place was a house maybe in the 1800s. Then maybe it became a hotel, and that's how it's gotten its name now. It's called the Rhodes Hotel. So I try not to look up information on that because I don't want it to interrupt what I feel, see, hear, or get vision-wise. So the other day, I decided to sit out here and see if I could connect, because a couple weeks ago, I had this girl named Sarah coming through. Not a girl, she is female, but she's probably a young adult. I don't know her exact age, but I'm feeling 30, maybe younger than 30, but not a child. So I feel this Sarah woman there, and I hear her name. I also got some other things a couple weeks ago. I didn't write them down. But so when I came out into my garage the other day, I thought, I'm going to sit here and see what I can pick up on from that area we're going. Never been to this town that I know of. It must be really rinky-dink. But instantly, Sarah came through again. And Sarah's telling me, like it's weird. It's almost like a movie clip playing in my head. So I'm walking towards the place up this little sidewalk, and there's a girl outside playing, like a young girl outside playing with a ball. And she has like kind of wavy hair, and she has a little bow in her hair, and she has one of those dresses on. And she's just outside. So I don't know if she was a guest there or if she actually lived there. But as I go into the front door of the house in my vision, this Sarah's there. And Sarah, to me, feels like a prostitute, or I don't know, lady of the night, whatever they call them back then. Kind of felt like a prostitute in some sense. So I'm feeling that maybe this Rhodes Hotel that we're going to might have had room and board like a hotel or boarding rooms somewhat, and that maybe this Sarah participated in survival, a way to make money and survive. But with this, Sarah also told me that one of us are going to capture eyes, or we're going to see eyes while we're there. So I don't know if it's like we take a picture and there's a pair of eyes in the picture, or we hear the word eyes in a recording, or maybe someone there had eye issues. I'm not sure. She didn't really go into detail about these eyes. But then Sarah is telling me that she's an adult woman, and that the woman of the house, which owned the house, I'm assuming it wasn't her mom, but somebody else called her mom. So she just kind of called her mom. But she described how she was dressed. I don't know if you guys remember Little House on the Prairie, and remember Nellie Olson's mom, how she'd wear like the long dark skirts with the white ruffled shirt and the puffy sleeves, and have this hat on that might have had decorations coming off of it. That's how I seen this woman of the house, which would be like the owner. So I seen her like that, and you could tell she dressed nice. But then Sarah's telling me that I'm assuming we're going to capture whispers up on a higher floor. So I know there's a second floor. I don't know for sure if there's an attic, but she's telling me that we're going to hear whispers. There's lots of whispers up there. So I think she's giving me like, heads up, get your recorders out, because you're going to hear whispers. Sarah then shows me this weird thing, and I'm not even going to go on here and describe it because it's so weird. But anyways, she's telling me something about someone feeling betrayed there. Not like in a betrayal of love, but almost like they felt abandoned. Not her. It felt like a male figure felt abandoned from sickness or a health issue, and he felt like he was secluded from everybody else, and that he felt betrayed in a sense, like this was his life and this is all it's ever going to be, and that he kind of felt like abandonment for some reason. I don't know. She didn't give me a name on that guy. So then she also gave me this feeling of warmth and love from some of the people that stayed at that place. For from the head woman that owned the house too. The woman treated her really good. But what was funny was Sarah said that people frown on the owner of the house's business ventures. So I'm not sure exactly what took place in this house, hotel, whatever, but evidently back then there was some crazy business ventures going on through that house, and some of the people did not agree with what was happening. More than likely, it feels like religious people didn't agree with the business ventures this woman who owned this house was doing out of her home. Sarah showed me her sitting on this bed that was made, and it's like a wrought iron looking kind of bed. And she's showing me sitting there, and the outfit she has on is really weird. It looks like a muscle shirt kind of, but it has a couple laces right here, like with big string. It reminds me of like what pajamas would look like in a sense, but the bottoms were like knickers. They only came up to like her calf, and they were straight legged and then they had like a ruffle around the bottom. So I don't know if this is something they wore under clothes, like undergarments, or if this is what they wore to bed. I do not know. I don't feel like it was a nightgown. So I feel like it was more of like underclothes maybe of some type. I don't know. I'd have to look up what the hell they wore back in the late 1800s, 1900s. So she's showing me sitting on a bed, and she has like her left leg hanging off, and she's got her right knee bent up on the bed, and she's got her arm, and she's like leaning on her right arm. And I don't know if she's showing me somebody coming through her room and she's telling them to sit on the bed, or if she's just showing me this was where I stayed, this is where I stayed, because that could be the case also. So then what gets me is she goes into great detail, and I'm going to push pause real quick because I hear something. Hold on. Amazon delivery. Anyways, so this is the weird part. Sarah starts describing somebody to me. So she's like, this is her words. Slob. She talks about a slob, someone she doesn't want there, but he comes weekly. He smokes cigars, wears a brimmed hat, has a chubby belly and a chubby face, wears a suit most of the time, so maybe he was a prominent person. She dreads him coming, but money and nice things. She's telling me to see if I can find her. So when she said she wants me to find her, so I realized that she was a real person and did exist back then. She is showing me like Ancestry.com and like records from the past. And she was showing me like, if I find her name in this small little area, this town, that it will say, like when they did the census or something, it will say brothel worker, laborer, or housemaid is what she was showing me. Like that, you know, how they'll tell what your job was and how old you were at the time. So she's showing me that if I can find her, that I will be able to see what she did for a living back then. Sarah said she talks about the kitchen and how the person would cook dinners, not the person that owned the home would cook dinners in the kitchen, and she feel like I'm at the dinner almost. It's weird. And that the owner feeds the hostel guests or the hotel guests or the people that are staying in the boarding rooms. But Sarah says she sits with this man for dinner because that's what he wants. So I'm assuming she's a prostitute. This man comes and sees her weekly. He brings her nice things and gives her money. And he wants her to sit at the dinner table and eat beside him like they're actually a couple or on a date. That's what Sarah tells me. Sarah says this, and whenever somebody that in the spirit world repeats something 3 times, they're adamant about what they repeat. So if I'm doing a reading for somebody and I see green clover, green clover, green clover 3 times, that means I am most definitely supposed to say this to the person I am doing the reading for. It will have significant meaning. So oftentimes when I hear something in 3s, I know that I definitely need to say this to whoever I'm doing a reading for because it will mean something to them. So Sarah does this to me. She says, I am a sweet girl. I'm a sweet girl. I'm a sweet girl. And she's reminding herself she's not a bad person, just has to survive. She's also telling me that because she doesn't want me to judge her for what she had to do in her past life. So there we go. That's the kind of stuff that happens to me, guys. I know it sounds absolutely freaking crazy, and if I would have said this 20 effing years ago, they probably would have locked me up. But because more people are coming out about their gifts they have, I don't feel so locked in a closet, should I say. So then Sarah's also talking about a man named, well, she says Jay, but then I hear John. So I'm assuming the guy's name is John, but I can't be definite because I suck at names sometimes. So she's saying this J name, and I think it sounds like John to me, but I'm not positive. But she said he's a ladies' man. She says, the women have like think he's just dreamy, kind of like, hots or whatever for someone. But the way she says this is what gets me. She tells me he's a looker. So I'm like, he's a looker. Is she meaning like he's a window peeper? Or is she saying he watches people? What is she saying? No, I looked up that word, like terminology. What does the word looker mean back in like early 1900s? And it says that somebody who is good looking. So that's how she says it to me. She says they think he's a looker, the women. And then I even write, not sure what she means by a looker, but she had me underline it 2 times, which she did when I was talking to her. I underlined it twice. So that word was important. I'm assuming she knew I would look it up. Like, what does this mean? She also talks about an animal being in that home. And she's showing me a small animal, but she's not telling me if it's a cat or dog. She's telling me that it's a small animal close to the ground. And she calls it the house pet. Not a pet like we say our dog or our cat. She says house pet. So I'm not sure if this is the terminology they used back then, because a lot of people had farm animals and they didn't really have them inside. She calls it a house pet. So it makes me think that it's a cat or a small dog or a small cat, whatever. Some kind of animal was in that home. I'm hoping we pick that up also while we're there. So then she talks about something in the home being replaced or changed, and she wants to know what happened to it. This is what I feel like was some very pretty decoration on the wall, or like a window, because it feels like it was on the wall. And I don't know what happened to it. I don't know if they replaced it with a new window or if they painted over some portrait. I don't know. I'm not sure. She wants to know what happened to it. Then she shows me this baby being born. This is what's weird. It's not her baby from what I gather. She's telling me she was in the room when this baby was born at this hotel or house or whatever it was at that time. She's telling me that she was in the room when this woman was giving birth, and there was like a local kind of like doctor or midwife there. It was a man, so I don't know if that means it was the doctor or midwife, but then the woman who owned the home was also in that room while this woman gave birth, and so was Sarah. They said, and she doesn't let me know if the baby was stillborn or the baby passed not long after it was born, or what happened, or maybe the baby got sick when it was 6 months old and passed away. I don't know. This is how she showed it to me. She showed me that this baby, she wouldn't tell me if it was a boy or girl. I tried to get it, but she didn't, which is strange. But she shows me this baby with kind of pinkish cheeks, and the baby is in this white or cream colored like gown, and the gown it looks something like what you would christen a baby in, and no matter if it was a boy or a girl. She made me feel like no matter if it was a boy or a girl, they would wear this gown. And then she shows the bonnet being tied around the baby's, chin, and in this gown. But I was trying to pull out, is this a girl or boy baby? But she didn't ever come out and say that. She just showed me the picture of the baby and the gown. So it was like, it reminded me of like what you'd see people christen their babies in certain religions. Whether they're a boy or girl, they wore a christening gown and a bonnet, I guess. I did do some more digging on this, and I talked to a friend who knows a lot of that vintage stuff, and she said, yes, boys and girls were both either buried in that or they were put in that for christening, whether they're a boy or girl. It's like a long nightgown, and that's how I seen it. They also showed me placing the baby into a box, and it was a small box, you know what I mean? It was smaller, and so I don't know if that was like a wooden coffin or if it was some kind of homemade box, but the baby had passed. Then after that, she says, we take care of our own. No real funeral or gravesite for when this happens. So I didn't understand what she meant by that. I don't know. But I remember feeling like somebody was saying a prayer as they put the little casket or box into the ground. But I don't know if there's a tombstone to show the marker for this baby, and that's what she means. Well, we don't have no real like gravesite or nothing. Sometimes we just bury them, and say prayers. So then I kept saying, Sarah, does this baby belong to you? And she's like, no. And then she explains it all in detail, And then the next thing happens is she talks about these passerbys. I didn't understand this word either. She's talking about, let me see how she says this. She's talking about passerbys, and I'm not sure if she means people who stop to stay like one night or stop by to visit or just go past our house and constantly stare at them. So I didn't understand what she meant by the passerbys. So that's another word I looked up. I thought, what does passerby mean to someone back then? And what I found was it is like that. People that go past your house and you might be sitting on the porch and they're staring at you, or people in the town going past, they call them passerbys. But they also call passerbys people who might have just been from out of town that stopped at a hotel back in the day, stayed all night and left. Or like sometimes salesmen were like that. They would travel from town to town, so they called them passerbys because they just pass in the town and then they're out of the town. That's what I found out. So that made sense to me why she was calling these people passerbys. She said sometimes if she didn't feel like working, she would hide in a secret room in this hotel, house, whatever it was back then. She would hide. She said, there's a secret room, there's a secret room, there's a secret room. 3 times. So I know there's going to be some kind of secret room. Whether that secret room's still there now when we get there, or if there was a secret room and somebody tells us about it and we find out about it. But she said if she didn't feel like working that day, or if she knew somebody was coming she didn't want to deal with, she would hide in that secret room and be passed over to someone else. So that's what she did. She shows me a cemetery, and I'm assuming this might be a cemetery she is buried at, or there's something to do with a cemetery. So I don't know if there's a cemetery close to there that she might be in, but she didn't show me any tombstone or anything. She just showed me like a short clip of a little small cemetery that was old. She talks about going home. So I don't know if she means that she finally moves out of that place and gets a home, or she goes to like an old folks home. I am not sure, because the next thing I see is an old fashioned wheelchair that's almost like wicker on the back. And she shows me some woman sitting in it. So I don't know if she was trying to tell me this was the lady of the house that owned the house that is in this wheelchair, or became ill and ended up in a wheelchair, or if this is maybe Sarah at an older age in a wheelchair. It's kind of hard to tell some of them things sometimes because of how fast they pass through my head. Then she's talking about fresh cut flowers at the very end. She's talking about fresh cut flowers. So I feel like either she is going to give us a floral smell of perfume while we're there, or she's talking about the fresh cut flowers that the woman put on the dining room table at supper time. So I'm not sure. I'm hoping it's the floral perfume we're going to smell. She also stresses number 2, number 2, number 2. She did this to me 2 weeks ago also. Talked about number 2, number 2, number 2. So either this is going to be her room number, if there are room numbers still there on the doors, but she's telling me number 2 room. If not, she's talking about the second floor. So I feel like we're going to get a lot more stuff on the second floor, on the higher up floors. She also, something else that was crazy was, okay, so that night when I went to sleep, after I did all this channeling with Sarah, I went to sleep, and I must have woke up around 4 o'clock in the morning, guys. I had to go to the bathroom. And as I'm waking up, I hear her telling me, remember, dig holes, dig holes, dig holes, okay? And I'm seeing like somebody with a shovel digging a hole in that yard. Then I'm seeing a shovel being dug again in that yard. And I'm like, what is going on? Why are they digging holes? Like they found something? So I'm thinking that. So I go to the bathroom, and I go back, and I can't remember and I did have the whole dream in my head. I remembered it when I went to the bathroom, and I know better to do this. I should have had a journal beside me so I could write down exactly what it was I seen before I even went to the bathroom. But I didn't because I was so exhausted. When I came back and went back to sleep, I woke up again at like 6 or 7, and that digging holes, digging holes, digging holes, and her showing me again somebody in the yard digging holes. So I don't know if they were burying something in the yard or they were digging something up in the yard. But I feel like, or they were digging for someone's funeral. I don't know, but that's what I'm seeing. And I see like 6 holes. So I don't know what this means. I'd like the number 6 sticks out. So we're going to find out tomorrow if some of my shit comes true or not, which I'm really excited because I feel like we are going to get something. And I'm praying to God Sarah's there and she helps us. She helps guide us in the house where we need to go to get good evidence. And maybe we'll get lucky enough to catch her voice because I feel like she's sincere and has a sweet sounding voice. And I have no judgment against her for what she had to do back in the day to survive. Never would judge someone for the things they have to do sometimes in life to survive. We don't know their situation, right? And back then, women really didn't work unless they were working on their back or they were married to a business owner and maybe did some of the paperwork for them. You know what I'm saying? There just wasn't a lot of women working in big areas of the field, you know? And so and some people aren't handed the opportunity to go to college back then, or if they even had that back then. But just things like that. You don't know what kind of things life dished her way. So when she said, I'm a sweet girl, I'm a sweet girl, I'm a sweet girl, I believe her. She was a sweet girl from what I felt, because she made me feel very comfortable talking to her. I did not feel scared at all of her whatsoever. And I just want to know her story. So that's where I come into play, because I'm a medium. I know that sometimes spirits tend to seem mean sometimes, or they do things to scare you, but it's only because they want their story to be heard. So Sarah, I'm coming your way, honey, because I'm going to try to see what your story is besides what you've already given me. And we'll see how much of this is real, or how much of this that we can get acknowledgement for, to know if this is the case. Because I'm going to dig tonight and see if I can find anybody in that area way back in like the late 1800s, early 1900s named Sarah. And maybe it was even clear in the 1930s. I don't know. I just know that it was before like my mom would have been born and before I was born. So it's kind of way back. And maybe she was there for a long time. That's why I see different periods of her life. Sorry, I'm a jabberbox, but I just wanted to share that with you, and hopefully I get enough information and enough, enough proof to post it on my YouTube video clips or whatever, or sound bites or whatever that we pick up there. All right. Happy Friday, y'all. I hope you guys have a good weekend. I know I'm going to have a good one, and I'm going to be able to spend some time away from town with a couple of my good friends, get a stress reliever for me. I know it probably sounds scary to everybody else, but it's a stress reliever, going somewhere else and trying to help people with their other spiritual people with their own issues or their just story of life. So that's my cup of tea right there. All right, guys. Happy Friday. Believe, and always believe in yourself, and keep your fingers crossed that I get some good stuff to share with y'all. All right. Later.